wholeness and balanced vibrations. You are tuning into Esoteric Radio's The Activated Body, a show based on our inner growth through activation. Today is Sunday, July 10th, 2011, and I'm your host, Kayowe Mune. Before I begin into today's topic, I just wanted to get some announcements out of the way. Later on, we'll be joined by Sevan, who'll be introducing a new Chi Super Tonic supplement to the website, and the website is www.resistance2010.com. And if you're recently joining us, Sevan is the author of the book, The Code to the Matrix, which is freely available at the Resistance website. There you can also download the audio version, and you can also hear this book on YouTube. And if you want to call in to the show today, the number to call is 347-996-5688. And you can just press 1 to alert me on switchboard where I can add you to the show. And if you wanted to post your questions, you can post your questions on the Resistance chat box. And you also have the Blog Talk Radio's chat box to post your questions. And yeah, so to get into the show, a lot has been happening for many of us. And just pertaining to me, I've been feeling a lot of energy in my body. And just even last night, like I haven't really slept all night. And writing my notes for the show, I've been feeling a really deep burning pain on my crown chakra area. So it's just been really interesting, the activation experiences that everybody goes through. And I know that most people are experiencing, sweating and, lack of sleep and things like that. So I highly recommend that people look into, I've been taking SEMD and Agar 35 for the last few weeks now. And it just has a way of really balancing and keeping me grounded and even. So just a tip for anyone. So today's show is about turning on your avatar, your inner avatar, and getting tuned in and to get into the challenge of life. And I just wanted to explain what exactly is the avatar. And before I can share that information, I just have to have a frame of reference of how the avatar was created. And this will also tap into our original state. And understand that this knowledge I'm interpreting is like through my physical experience. So I'm going to be explaining it in my own words. And everybody's capable of tuning in with their own inner truth about existence. Know that you can take what resonates with you and to leave what does not. So when I asked for guidance to understand about the true nature of the avatar, this was what was revealed to me. And I just want to thank all the energies for connecting with me to reveal this knowledge. And for the beings listening, I thank everyone for allowing me the chance to share this information. We all know the expression, there's nothing new under the sun. And this is really true about what's going on with the construct of this universe. All that you'll be learning today will be not new to you. It will be more or less a memory recall. So to start, the name Avatar is a name or a title we've been seeing and hearing for many years now, and it's been externally overexposed in entertainment, in movies, in video games, and TV cartoon shows. But why is all this attention on this name and this energy? Why is this being known as the Avatar? Why is everyone trying to experience it? And is a being that is capable of doing anything and is able to face any challenge with effortless ease. And of course, anything that's emphasized in our 3D construct is meant to distract us from what is an internal truth. And every time we awaken to this body, we have access to our inner avatar. This form is not our original form. It's pure consciousness. And we are formless. All beings that chose to step outside of this formless state chose in order to experience this universe. And just like the young ones in this reality, or the young ones at heart, choose to experience another reality through video games, they are fully aware that they can just switch off the game anytime and return back to their own reality. We chose to experience physical existence, to understand and experience separation from pure consciousness, to see that we are capable of creating planets, even galaxies. Then we would come down to experience our creations. Every experience, we wanted to come down even further and further till we were inside these bodies. Yet we were aware that we are higher beings from pure consciousness inside a body. However, that wasn't enough. Creating duality, we wanted to learn what it would be like to experience further separation of the masculine and feminine energies, and what is known in the East as yin and yang. Again, within our bodies, we were fully conscious of who we are. And energy this account that the controlling energies would start to fragment our energies in the physical experience, further creating separation from high spirit. Every time we separated from our bodies, we would go on a quest state. Continue to create directed to this energy in order for itself to grow in strength. In order to exist in a reality, let me just see, I think I'm getting some breakup. Just one moment. Okay, I'm just gonna check with the resistance chat box and the blockhouse chat box if I'm okay with on the air. What happens is that I'm really, connecting with such high energy that sometimes computers go really out of, they become distorted. So just give me one moment to check this. What I'll do is I'll have Sevan come on the show. I'm being told that I'm breaking up, so just give me one moment. Okay, go ahead, Sevan.
Okay, wholeness and balanced vibration to everyone. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and call in on the landline, and so I guess I'll just say a couple things while you're transferring lines. And I wanted to thank everyone for tuning in today, and it's just been an exceptional time, and we're going to be changing a lot of things with the resistance, and that's really what I'm going to be talking about for the final duration of the show. And we're just going to get into some really deep things, and we're going to get really focused about what we're actually going to be looking at here within the next year. We're going to talk about the psyche and what is actually affecting us from making decisions right now, and how one should basically behave when they're presented with certain circumstances. And the most interesting thing, and we'll just wait for Mune to get back on the line, but the most interesting thing that I was just looking at is about the power and energy. And I realized after talking to even a gentleman that's more like a mentor to me, he's actually in Asia now, and he travels all around the world just exploring alchemy and going into different countries and seeing what they're using to get into higher states of consciousness. And what he was explaining to me from multiple levels was basically that the way that we look at things, to not confuse that as the way things really are, meaning that the program really is the TV, it's YouTube, it's the internet, it's your computer, etc. And that's the information that you're getting about what's taking place in the reality, positive or negative, whether it's a war or whether it's famine, plague, or whatever information they're bringing across. That's a part of the program. However, it only makes up a very small percentage of what's really taking place in the world. And so if we start to rely on the TV and the internet to give us the information that we need about spiritual transformation, only thing that we're really doing is preluding our spiritual transformation, meaning that we're getting the details, certain details and things of that nature, but the two should not be confused with one another. Actually getting out into the field and doing things that activate you, like they call it the force, or is it really the forest? Understanding the knowledge within the trees is, first of all, if we're going to be asking a regular individual or person about spiritual transformation, and that person does not know how to communicate with nature or communicate with what's been here for a very long time, then they cannot really present to you any whole answers about fixing the situation. And so there are many individuals that have already made communion and talked to the other beings that live here and gotten the information and then sent on their way to continue their mission. But understand that it's really a part of your effort that it takes for you to get out of your house, get away from the people that you're around as far as the ones that are holding you back. And we'll see, like I'm going to talk about later on, we'll see that it's been up to us all along, and that there's a major part of us, no matter how old that we are, that's still acting like a child, in essence, where we find all these reasons and problems to why we can't accomplish something. But the reality is when a person really wants to get something done, if it's a financial situation, they go work at McDonald's for 2 or 3 months and then take that money and then get on a plane and go somewhere else and utilize their spiritual ability to continue to manifest the floor before them as they take the step. So when a person is not doing that, it just means that there's a problem with the psyche, there's a problem with the spirituality, there's a problem mentally and physically that needs to be overcome. And so when I get on later on, I'm going to talk about how to overcome those things very fast, because it was never a taboo. It was never like they're trying to tell us at times that trying to use certain methods is the wrong way, etc. There was never a wrong way. There was only whether you could get yourself on track or not and do your own alchemy. And so I'm going to go ahead and let I don't know if Muna's transferred back into the line. And I know that I'm coming through loud and clear, so we're just going to wait for her to get online to see so her show can continue. I also wanted to let people know to understand that the 2012 timeline is just that. It's a timeline. It's always good to give yourself timelines, deadlines, whatever you want to call them, because they produce more results within you. And I think that the world is going through itself as a whole, a big timeline. They're being given a certain date to produce certain results. And this is always good because it allows us to actually know by what time we should be complete with certain things. And I just wanted to let people know, the listeners and everything, those that are still waiting around for something to happen or waiting to make the move, whether you have resources, whether you don't, whether you're wondering if you should make this move to Costa Rica or make this move to Peru or make this move to Canada or wherever you know you need to go to continue your spiritual transformation, if something is stopping you from doing that right now, you need to seriously begin to look at that as your obstacle or block. Notice that on Facebook, if you don't want anyone to talk to you, you just block them. And then the term means a square. So something that's actually in your way. And what we've discovered, of course, is that with the language being 26 characters is based on a cube or based on a square. So the language becomes a big-time hindrance, along with the God attached to the language. Of course, the tetragrammaton numerical equivalent is 26. So there's actually a being or a living being that we breathe life into, as we breathe life into all the words that we speak, that is actually attempting to hinder us. But now we get a chance to move beyond even our own minds to understand the difference with communicating with your mind or having communication with your mind, having communication with your body, and having communication with your soul. Because what we're really discovering now is communication. And that's where many people are going to need to improve, is their level of communication, to understand how many faculties they can really use at one time to get their point across. And so this is what we're going to be getting into very deeply. And I also did want to let everyone know, because this is more or less the 15 minutes that I would have at the end of the show, but I want to let those that have people know that have contributed to the resistance, that we thank them very sincerely for their contributions and for information, for financial contributions, all of those things. And there will be also, for those that have made contributions financially to the resistance, there will be an email going out here within the next 3 days, and we'll be giving those people certain things that I've collected on my whole quest that I feel that are very valuable to me, but just as an extension to paying it forward. I guess I just wanted to get that stuff in those people's hands. So there's going to be definitely a lot of things happening, and there's going to be a lot more encouragement and a lot more laser-like instructions about how to get yourself into the position that you want to be in so that you can continue to prosper, because this is not the end. Our consciousness will survive. Whatever takes place, it's always going to benefit you to be more spiritually adept. And that's why something like going into places where you can go into a retreat, you can go into getting your mental and spiritual and physical self built to a higher level is always going to benefit you no matter where you end up in the universe or in consciousness. And so that's the big time investment that many of us are making now and need to make, because that's all that's really going to count here in a moment. And so understand that basically what you're dealing with now is that there's been a lot of distractions, a lot of information coming across the portal, like I included in the post, aliens, different things of that nature have continuously come across the portal, and information, knowledge of all types of nature. But the fact is that while we're sitting down and we're reading that and ingesting that, there's only a certain period for that kind of intake. And then the next period is for you to say, okay, you take a deep sigh or breath in and a breath out and say, okay, now that I've been briefed somewhat, what should I do? And the next answer should be, okay, let me start to work on my own personal activation and growth, because that's something, no matter what's going on, I'm still going to be prepared a lot more for that than if I just keep sitting back here reading this, feeling depressed about it or feeling excited about it, etc. And so, Muna, are you back on the line? Or?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm going to go ahead and mute my line now.
Okay, let me take this off. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can't hear you. I just went ahead and mute my line.
Okay. So I'm just going to continue with talking. I actually had crystals in front of the computer, and I also had crystal beings, like
Mona, you do have an echo going on. I don't know if you want to plug in like a headphone or something like that.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I was just saying that I had so many crystals, actual crystal people and crystals in front of the computer, so it was just everything was kind of going, the energy was really charged in this room. I forgot to mention earlier, the track that was playing earlier was submitted by a Resistance member, Coin Magnus, and the track is called Talamus, and I'm going to be posting the link to his website with his music, and I just want to thank him so much for allowing us to use his music. I'm not surprised that this happened with the interference, because I've been getting a lot of charged energies last night from just typing this. I haven't slept, so I know the information that I'm putting out is really, really needed. So I'm just going to start from where I left off, and I hope people can connect with this. And it's really an amazing experience for me to be able to be present to write this out. So, like I was saying, that all beings chose to step outside the formless state, and they chose to only experience their universe. And just like I was saying, the young ones are the young ones at heart who use the computer video games, and they're fully aware that they're playing a game and they can switch off any time and can return back to their own reality. That was the same way with us. We chose to experience the physical existence and to understand and experience separation from pure consciousness. So we were able to create planets and even galaxies from that. And then we wanted to experience our own creations. And every experience, we wanted to come down even further and further till we were inside these bodies. Yet we were aware that we are higher beings from pure consciousness inside a body. However, that wasn't even enough. So we started to create duality, and we wanted to learn what it would be like to experience further separation from the masculine and feminine energies, and that's known as yin and yang. Again, within our bodies, we were fully conscious of who we are, and we'll be able to manipulate our realities and build our own worlds in that state of consciousness. And within this duality, there came a further separation of the energies, and an energy emerged that wanted to have all the control. So fully knowing that no energy can be destroyed, only change in form, we continued on with this new separation. Now we started to experience pain, pleasure, hate, love, happiness, sadness, and all the energies that exist in duality. In our bodies, there emanated a state of innocence, being that we still resonated with the original state of pure consciousness, but we didn't account for the controlling energies, which start to fragment our energies in our physical experience, further creating a separation from the high spirit. Every time we separated from our bodies, we would go on a quest to retrieve our fragments and travel through the layers we constructed to only return in our original state. Yet then again, we wished to return to experience being in bodies. The controlling energies continued on to create realities where beings had no access to their original source. Eventually, fragments were even being collected or directed to this energy in order for itself to grow in strength. In order to exist in a reality with this controlling energy, one either would have to have been consciously aligned with it or unconsciously charging it. Our higher selves, fully aware of this change, created the avatar energy, and in order to be able to exist in a reality where physical beings are under an extreme influence, external influence, and that's how the avatar was created. For our higher selves to intervene in this construct, everything would be destroyed because our higher self is from pure energy, from pure source. So it's too powerful for our physical existence to handle. And the avatar is a small fragment of our original state. Here we understand the connection between the source and the avatar. Coming from a state of pure consciousness, the avatar contains no sense of duality and can only be sourced from that state. The only way we can understand the avatar in our 3D reality is to imagine a childlike being with no agenda, no control, yet capable of destroying any energy that wishes to control it. This being only wants to exist and explore its own adventure, fully aware and awake, capable of returning to source once all the fragments align with it. Yet even this truth had to be hidden from the beings experiencing physical reality. To this present time, the knowledge of the avatar is just a figment of someone's imagination or old legends told to us through our respective cultures. However, there are many physical examples of beings reaching the state in the body, becoming pure consciousness, and capable of transmuting the controlling energies and returning these restored energies to the original pure state of consciousness. That's the mission of every avatar, realigning what has been out of alignment for eons. So now I will get into accessing your avatar. Brave is the soul that comes into a body in a reality where there is no awareness, only control. Now we begin to further understand how we are manipulated in our physical reality to never access this information of the avatar. Only the small few that exist outside of civilization can tap into their original state and connect with their avatar. The rest of the beings are shuffled from one existence to the next, each physical experience losing more fragments. The controlling energies desire that all beings in physical bodies to forever forget their original state and to turn into empty vessels, carrying energy only for their own gain. The way that most beings return to this knowledge and become aware is by initially separating from the matrix and going through a period of disillusionment and searching to find exactly that feeling of how this reality has no meaning, so they're searching to find more meaning in their reality. In their own capacity, they align with energies that have glimpses of truth. But as long as they search outside of themselves, they are further being controlled to keep them separate from their own inner truth. For these beings, their realities become more difficult, which is to be expected, being that all the energies surrounding them do not want them to be exposed. They don't want to be exposed. So problems are created to keep these noble beings in dualistic realities. Once they start to gain more energies on their own and start to activate, the program changes. to create a more pleasing reality to further distract these beings into living a life that they always wanted. Again, further keeping them in a polar state, never realizing that they are just getting closer to their own inner truth. They are kept away from their inner. Even the food that they consume further keeps them unbalanced. There is the expression, you are what you eat, and these beings consume beings that exist in a state of imprisonment, never being allowed to exist in their natural state. These animal beings are raised, force-fed artificial foods, and that is not even designed for them to have nourishment from. Then they're tortured and finally put out of their misery to have their bodies be consumed as nourishment by a being that's unaware of the experience of their food. Yet, the energy of that experience becomes part of this being consuming it, and this energy aligns with this unconscious being who will reflect their own reality of a type of imprisonment and torture, with each experience being unique to the individual. Until a being can become pure consciousness and transmute this energy that it consumes, this being will have to connect with other food source that can elevate them into higher states of consciousness for a time till it can recognize itself. And in our 3D realities, we recognize these foods to be from nature, providing us sustenance, nourishment, and healing of our past energies, of the negative experiences of those beings we took on into our bodies. Many beings experience healings from years of pain. No longer do they feel prisoners in their body and are able to start traveling outside their bodies after it heals, once they cleanse all the old energies. These beings experience their spirit in many states of consciousness, and once they figure out the design that was put in place to control them, they begin to collect their fragments. They manifest this all types of healing work through dreams, visions, and out-of-body experiences. These brave souls wander into the unknown without conscious awareness of their avatar to start collecting their fragments and reach their own state of wholeness. Again, the controlling energies go after these beings to further prevent them from experiencing this newfound freedom. Their external realities become more difficult, and for many, they reach blocks in their inner world. And in my life, I would experience negative apparitions in my meditation and out-of-body experiences. Every time I would close my eyes to separate from my body, entities with gruesome faces would appear to scare me back into my body, and it will get to the point where I would be afraid to sleep even. So I would stop doing any spiritual practice and look for answers in my external reality. Just as I was about to give up hope with ever gaining any distance in my spiritual life, I connected with my inner child being. I asked it, how did you ever journey so far without fear? Now that I know how dangerous this world and universe is, how did I as a child have the audacity to do a lot of the brave experiences that I went through? And my inner child showed me in a vision how I connected with this great force known as the Avatar, how it was fearless because of it, and it had no sense of danger and no sense of duality. And I recalled in my memories how as a child I would venture in the most dangerous neighborhoods in Mogadishu, Somalia, and how every energy was under my will. And this was a place known where young children are kidnapped daily. Yet I was walking freely, feeling like every being was part of me and I was part of them. Whenever any negative energy wanted to do any harm to me, I would just stare into their eyes without any fear, and they would just let me be. And then beings would connect with me to inquire about my destination. And if I would allow them to know, if I knew them, I would let them know my destination. And until I was ready, they would help me return home to my family. And from that experience as a child, I used to feel so exhilarated that I was able to explore this reality, this enormous city on my own at that time. And my family would say to themselves, this person must have the angels under control. How will she be able to be missing for so many hours and not be damaged in any way? So I knew as a child that I connected with my avatar. Anyone can. And after being shown this vision of fearlessness, I asked for my avatar to connect with me again and fill me with this energy. I was told that I would have to start training to ascend duality. In order to connect with this high frequency, this high energy, I needed to accomplish this. and return to a childlike state. And because now that I have been existing in the body a little bit longer and I have more wisdom, it would allow me to further understand this avatar state and what its use is for aligning all the energies back to the original state. So basically, I was being allowed to experience adventure again, but now I'm being put to work as well. So ever since then, I've been in my own inner training. Just like the beings who are listening to this show right now, we are all aligned in this path. That's why we are in each other's presence right now, resonating this energy in this level of communication. Everyone in all their life have been aligned in some form of training that is unique to their experience. Some have been disciplining themselves in a physical manner, such as yoga, tai chi, and martial arts. And then some have been doing it through life experiences, leaving behind many of the trappings of society. There are many examples of this training, and each have been guided since birth in order to have them to have access of this internal force. Because of our limited vocabulary or external energies, we would connect with an experience, and we would experience something called a miracle because we're not aware of this avatar. So we would associate it with a deity or a god or an angel. And even calling this energy an avatar, that is very limiting in its own, but this is the only word that I have to use right now. Until we can independently experience our inner avatar, the external controlling energies influence our paths by distracting us with the visual avatars, these external avatars, even misleading the young ones who are more than ready to connect with their avatars. They are kept busy in school and with activities at home to never have a moment of inner reflection about their existence. And with social insecurities, they have no one to turn to even ask about anything. So all are in a state of hurry. And a few moments that they wish to explore their inner world, new energies appear that want to distract their attention. And for hours they would play video games or create virtual worlds online, just like we used to do in our past selves when we created galaxies, in order to be lost in control of this energy. For those to experience their avatars, there has to be training and discipline of the mind. These beings who want to experience their avatars would have to sacrifice a lot in order to train their mind through many methods of meditation and study. And it's not an easy task to take on, being that these beings will appear to be the only ones to be in this training. And by the way of this, how this reality is headed, this couldn't come at a much needed time. For avatars to be awakening within civilizations are more powerful and braver than the ones that had the shelter and comforts of Mother Nature. And like the saying goes, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So I want to get into the aspect of discipline, because there are many layers of energies that we have to pierce through. So I'm just going to take a moment to just check to see my time and to just check if there's any questions. Okay, so I'm just going to not quickly, but I'm just going to really just tune down a little bit. What happens is that I get really high connected when I read this information, and when my 3D personality wants to come out, it just kind of unbalances me a bit. But what I wanted to explain was about the avatar and the physical discipline and training of an avatar. You have to understand that an avatar is, a symbol of an avatar would be like a young child without fear or inhibitions. So we need to be childlike in our vibration to connect with it. So within our bodies, within our being, we have to make it safe for the avatar to reveal itself. Because the avatar is the source of the prime creator, the spark. And that spark can connect you with your prime creator. And you're already part of it. You need to become conscious of that while we are within the body. This is a high frequency, and this is your dial tone home. So we need to pull down the oversoul and connect this to your heart. And then the avatar is coming up and also connecting to your heart. And this is the spiritual center, which is our heart. And disciplining your physical, emotional body, raising your frequency, pure consciousness or avatar that energy becomes revealed. The mind is always, inhibiting us from that. It needs to be occupied. So we need to make it still. And we need to pull it from this atmosphere, or as we all know as atmosphere, because it creates its own anxieties. You have to give it a task to do. Even if you need to visualize heaven on earth, which we are capable of creating it, the mind is always pulling fear to itself when it has nothing to do. So keep the mind busy with things that you want to create. That way, it doesn't have a chance to connect with your pain body. And there are times to be quiet, to still your mind, to download. And then there are times you need to make an effort to keep your mind busy. So there's two different states that you're doing. You're downloading, you're staying still, and you're receiving information from within. And when you're not doing that, you're being active, you're being busy, you're disciplining yourself, you're learning, you're studying. That is what you need to be doing. And if it's not busy, if your mind is not busy, it's going to pull these dark, controlling energies towards you. So what you'll be doing as well, and I've always talked about this, is assisting the body through cleansing and detoxing to clear out the impurities. Because what happens is that when beings don't understand about this power, this inner energy that we have, they just look for it externally, like I was mentioning. And we've been doing this for eons with idols, with deities. These were the external avatars in that version. Now they're on, a movie or a video game or things like that. It's still the same form. You're still directing your energy, your power external of you. So you have to bring that back to you. And by disciplining and detoxing and cleansing, that is one of the ways. And that's what happens is one starts to switch off the programming, realizing how long it's been affecting this planet. And it's really sad that to even learn about this, it's even laughed at that, our DNA is what's activating now. Everybody knows this, that our DNAs are activating. And all these years they've been calling this aspect of us the junk DNA. The light body was known as the junk DNA. So this is how they see it as a joke as well in the external world. So just be brave and connect with your avatar, and this will give you the strength. And everybody is capable of doing this. Everybody will be doing this. So I'm just going to get Sevan back on the show. I think we have about 20 or 18 minutes left. So I'm just going to check in with Sevan. And we'll also be taking questions.
Okay, yeah, I definitely wanted to say just a couple of things, and then I wanted to get into the questions because I know that we want to spend more time, especially now, answering more questions. And in fact, the next week's show is going to be, I'm going to definitely deliver some information, but a bulk of the show is going to be for people to call in, ask questions, and then during the week we're going to just run a poll. So if you have a question, you could just put it there so that we can get prepared for it on Sunday. And so basically where I had left off earlier is, again, that the force or the power that you need does come from the forest, or it comes from the knowledge of the elder beings, the trees. And a friend of mine, Aman, talked to me on Facebook the other day, and he said, so, he's a younger kid, and he just said, hey, is there still a such thing as angels? And I said, honestly, we're the angels. When you look at the number 7, you look at the number 11, and you look at the number 12, they all tell you about the elves or the elven kingdom or Midgard or what was really going on here before the Lord of the Rings showed up. And what it really has to do with is that we have this inherent power. It's our lot. It is our will. It was written for us by our ancestors to be given to us. And the only thing that is removing that from us is not knowing about it, not knowing, ignorance. And the ignorance is what we're now moving out of, because what we have is we have all this knowledge coming from shamans and from different people all over the place saying, here's the way to go. We've lit the beacon for you. You just have to follow. And I did post on the resistance about Shilajit, because it is one of the most powerful elements that have been used in spiritual progress, because it creates the deep energy, or what's known in alchemy as the mercury. And what the mercury is about is to understand negativity. Negativity is actually cold. It's not hot. Many people picture the hellish type environment as being hot, but it's actually not. It's very cold. So the idea is that basically when a person gets older, they start to lose their heat. And that heat is responsible for regenerating them and responsible for many different things. And that's why love has a warmth to it. And love has a way about it that gives a person warmth. And negativity is cold. Like, man, that person's cold. They don't care. And so what Shilajit does is it actually begins to warm your core and build your chi so that you can break shells. What shells are is for anyone that understands the deeper parts of the occult, because looking into the occult world and into the occult knowledge is very diverse and very difficult at times, because generally the people that are writing that are already under the influence of spirits. But it's not a place, it's not somewhere where you can't get some type of knowledge. And there's a lot of knowledge about the shells, or about beings that are basically stuck, or shellfish, I call them, or selfish, meaning they spent a whole life wanting to be so individual, wanting to be so away from everything and all about me, that their next incarnation gave them a house, like a turtle, by themselves. And so to break those type of beings, because of course now they realize, well, there's a benefit in attaching oneself to something, like if you notice, barnacles and different things of that nature attach themselves to ships. And your body is a ship. There are many different things that will try to attach themselves to you, and you have to get to a level of being able to vibrate them off. And I even have to go through this, and I actually went through an extreme vibration for the last week, 2 weeks, and a lot of things that I didn't even know were present were vibrated off of me. And I could tell that by the change in my dreams, by the change in my sleep. And so what happens at times is that we don't even know what was going on or how we're supposed to be, because we don't have that reference point. We only have the reference point when it actually starts to happen. So I wanted to let many people know that sometimes it's very difficult for us to know what is it really like to be a certain kind of way until we actually experience it. And so you have these things that are helping along at times in giving you the information and the power to be able to do that. And so one of those, again, is the Shilajit. I did include the Shilajit, the Jing Builder, and the Ethereum Gold, because they seem to work synergistically with all of the bodies, the mind, the body, and the soul, and insulating them properly so that they can start to build this energy. And so we've already received a couple orders, and I want to let the people know that do receive those products to not skip a day. You don't need to you can even back the Jing Builder down to 1 capsule a day after you get at least a weekend of 2 capsules a day. But even if you feel that high vibration, which you will feel, don't stop taking it because you're like, okay, I'm straight, because there's always higher and higher levels. And so what it allows you to do is keep that energy that many people, especially your loved ones, are going to need from you, because we've now come to the complete conclusion that leaving the people here, especially those that we care about most, is not even really an option for us. But to actually build them up, they're going to need a certain kind of firm, constant energy. And that's also what we have to remain as constant, because the fact is when we're first going through our spiritual progress, we're very unbalanced, and people actually see that within us. And that's why it becomes very difficult for them to trust us or for them to listen to what we're saying, because they only see something that they don't want to be like. They don't want to be rambling around and not knowing what's going on and crying and in fear. They don't want their subconscious mind doesn't want to switch into that, so they want to stay where they are. So you have to begin to project for these people stability. And this is what begins to give you the stability. I also wanted to talk about something that's very serious. It's a simple checkpoint with a lot of people that you see out here that are bringing a lot of esoteric knowledge, because so many books have come out and many people have talked about this. So people have kind of, with just a decent level of common sense and comprehension, started to talk about it themselves, even though they haven't experienced it. So a simple checkpoint for any individual that begins to talk to you about higher levels of spirituality is to simply ask them, have you experienced this before, or are you involved in this, or have you been involved in this, or have you just read about it? Because it becomes very important to determine which one you're dealing with. A person that is experienced and knows about all this stuff, because I have been through the occult world, or a person that has just read about it and they're coming back telling you things about Pluto and Mars, but they've never been there. It's important to start to discard that kind of information from your information stream, because it doesn't really become of much importance to you now. Now it's time to prioritize what you need to do so that you can get ready to make your move, or as I call it, you now need to make that jump, because it's it's 2012 is upon us. And so that's as much as that I really had to say. Of course, I got tons next week to share. I just wanted to let people know a few things. And also the last thing is that in regards to the Egyptians, the Sumerians, and those who practiced the ancient knowledge, the only thing that was really important to them is elementals. They were never really fascinated with controlling other human beings because human beings are composite beings. They're mixed with several things. They were more interested in creating human beings, but not manipulating and controlling human beings. They wanted to manipulate and control the elementals. So realize the elementals are the core strength of where all of this stuff really comes from. So it's almost like sometimes when focusing on some of the more scattered stuff, like just the stuff that people are bringing out, it becomes more like, I call it cart before the horse, where you got the cart pulled up, but there's no horse. Elementals are the horse. They are the foundation to where all of this stuff is really coming from. And getting more deeply involved in how that works, how fire works, how water works, et cetera, those elements and how they redundify in nature gets you a lot more closer to what you want to experience. And what we're really dealing with here at the Resistance is we have a collective thought. The Resistance is everyone's idea finally manifested, and that's why everyone is here. And so we have the opportunity right now to know what each other is thinking and what each other is. We have the opportunity to know what we are thinking and feeling together. And oftentimes when we communicate, everyone acknowledges that, man, I was just having that same thought, I just had that same dream, etc. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of this time to go ahead and answer questions for those that are on the switchboard and those that have questions in the chat box. And I'll just mute my line now in order for those calls to come through clearly.
Okay, I'm going to put in the first call, and it's Sue from the chat box. It's the caller is Healing for Inner Peace.
Hey, love, light, and blessings.
Okay, you're on the line.
Namaste.
Caller Healing for Inner Peace.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
yes,
I can hear
we can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly, Inner Peace. Go ahead. Thanks for calling.
I love everything that you're saying because it makes a lot of sense. I just work with it a little bit differently. I also work on the esoteric, multidimensional, multi-universal level as well. And we each have a different perspective in it, but a lot of it feels right because it's based on the same universal truths. It's just the way we experience it is different in the nature of our soul's experience.
100%, and that's one of the main things I also was talking about even this morning is that because we do have all these differences, it's actually time for us to start consolidating those differences and start really becoming universal, because universal is just like a universal wrench. It's a tool that can be used for every situation. And that's also where it becomes important for people to start getting around people that are like them. Basically, it's time to stop playing games and to start figuring out how to manifest getting more universal or getting into the same level of thought so that we can progress. Because if we're building something, but everyone has a different idea of how it should be built, you can imagine how long it's going to take to actually build that. Generally, what you really see in the progressive nature is like with a tree. It knows its diagram and it knows its construct, and then everything is working towards building that. And so now we're coming out of a point where we have, because we've just come out of a path of just really strict confusion where everything that's been fed to us has just been a fractal. And so now we're able to see the whole picture, for better lack of words. And it's just beautiful because I feel that happening. And I'm not sure if this is a brother I know, but you know how we experienced it. It's almost like we're running parallel lives. And it's just slightly tweaked for each of our...
Yes, I mean, I have seen some of the other timelines that I'm soul is experiencing, and even some other planetary planes which my soul is presently. And it is very interesting how we can perceive different aspects of ourselves doing things different ways or assisting us. Like when in the planetary work as a conscious starseed, I can see those aspects of me on the higher planetary planes, what have you, on the ships, assisting me with what I'm here to do to assist the Earth, because through assisting the Earth in its transition into the new Earth, we're assisting all of creation because everything is all interconnected.
Exactly, 100%. And that I even talked to, I got a text message from Lennon Honor, and he was just like, brother, if you're assisting the Earth, then you're with me. And it's just like that, though, with everything. As long as we start to put our energy into the proper places, and we join the collective of individuals that are putting their energy in the proper places. And all I can really see that is the prelude to that, because many of us are really young or just now remembering who we were before and how long we've been away from our original state. But the fact is what I'm starting to really see more is that what's important is now coming up on our heads-up display, and it's allowing us to start using the laser, using the ability to go directly at something that we need to have accomplished, and not wasting so much time. Because me and Pablo were talking about Mr. Spirit Matter. If you just count how many times you get distracted each day, and the distraction, of course, means no traction, and understanding when you have traction and when you don't have traction. Distraction every day, and if you just added up the hours of how much distraction, you would see how much time is wasted. Now we're becoming the type of beings where we want all of our time, especially people who are feeling like they're getting more mature or even feel like they're getting older. They want to make sure, just like an older person, when they start to get towards that certain bar, they want to make sure that every single moment of their life is spent doing something worth it rather than on idle. And man, it's just it's again a phenomenal time for us as we're experiencing this whole thing in real time, rather than just talking about it or blogging about it, but had already achieved it or not achieved it yet.
I just wanted to add something as well, that a lot of us were meant to really be focused, because what we're doing is we were starting out to have a place for the younger ones to join, because they're coming into this reality a lot more aware than we were. But a lot of them are afraid to express that. A lot of them are afraid because it's really a scary reality. So we're sort of like the protectors and the ones that, are more capable, and we've been here a little bit longer than them. And this is also with the elders and, the previous and the shamans. These are all, beings that came way ahead of us to kind of cushion the fall for many of us. But however, I guess you can say it's modern civilization, we've just been distracted. We've really, truly been distracted, because this information has been coming out for many, 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 many generations. Right. And now, I guess, 2012 is sort of like the crunch time for many of us, and that's why everybody feels very restless, and they can't sit still. They can't feel, any stillness in what they're doing. They just feel like they need to do something constantly, and now we need to start channeling that restless energy and have it a bit more focused, rather than wandering around externally trying to connect with other energies all the time, because that's gonna rob your time, truly, and it has happened to many people.
One thing that people have to realize is that we are already in the 2012 energy. We really have to let go of our dualistic thinking, and which duality and dualistic thinking is into so much of the way our mental emotional processing works. We have to let go of, and that's a scary thing for many.
Yeah, fear is a form of control, obviously. So fear is the constant theme for many people to not go ahead and keep going with whatever it is that they need to do. And coming together in this paradigm is really important like this.
Exactly. And a major thing, like I was actually reading about what the numbers meant according to the Pythagorean law in another book where the guy dissected it, but really the duality is individuality. And many people are at first afraid of losing their individuality until they realize that they actually haven't been individuals. They've actually been clones. They've been imitating another person's prototype. But then it actually gets into, one, it's a very important phase, and then the next thing, because all of us feel that, we need someone to help us. So that really becomes the end of duality right there, when you finally acknowledge that, hey, man, I wish that someone higher or something that knows about all this already, and that the group that's already done this before pops up and starts to give us more pointers, and so that becomes the end of the duality. It doesn't so much become the end and stops quarreling with the gods and things. That's kind of another nature. But the fact of the matter is that the duality begins to cease when the person stops feeling alone and actually starts to connect individuals and are willing and open to connect with individuals that are of like mind.
Right, and that's what's so beautiful about these online radio shows, not just Blog Talk, but the many others as well, is because those of us that are like-minded consciousness, that if it wasn't for this fourth dimensional technology with the internet as it is, we would never have met one another and really become extended family and connect to each other to really help everyone to grow and expand into their fullness of who they truly are in the ascension process and truly understand and experience it.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I was saying I even saw that in the astral side. I said there was many things that if we didn't utilize here that we will regret that we didn't use them, and one of them is this level of technology and communication, because it's like now after the fact. Now, many people will say, well, we used to always have those abilities to communicate with each other, but it's not present now. It's in another form, and so we have to utilize that form to train us once more on how to connect with each other back through the mental mind and physical and the spiritual mind. And then, but it really becomes important to be present, because that's what many people that are practicing and reading a lot of books and things, and they say, well, no, I don't need that. But the fact is, you may not need it in the future, but you do need it now. If you're present and you realize exactly where you are, you understand that you have to connect, and this tool has been put in front of you to connect, if it's even at the library. And so I stopped giving myself really more excuses, those excuses of why I can't make it, and just understanding that you're coming out of, again, the Saturnalian kid, where there's like someone's got to help you do things, and someone's got to push it for you, and someone's got to, and it gets so pitiful, for better lack of words, the domestication, where every single thing, if not provided perfectly, becomes very difficult for a person to really even assimilate properly. But now we're almost out of time on the show. And I just think, we had a wonderful show today, and we're going to continue to have more and more wonderful shows, and we're actually continuing to get more and more balance and grow stronger. And so I'm just going to turn this back over to Muna.
You're both doing a beautiful job. I'd like to talk to both of you again soon about some co-creation might be able to do.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. I do also appreciate you connecting today.
Thank you so much for calling, and just wanted to close down and thank everyone for joining us today. This is The Activated Body, and you had Sevan on the show today, and myself, Kayowe Mune, and I just want to say wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone, and have a great day. Thank you.